Well, I think in probably 8 or 9 months, I will have a job as an AI therapist because it sounds like we're getting these weird relationships with the machines that become reflections of ourselves or mirrors of the dogs that we have or some such therapy stuff, but we'll get there. So, as I was kind of noodling over this morning, I think the first really important point is that the context of this is in the future. Okay, and we don't really think about that a whole lot, but we should, because all these discussions and decisions about investing, and if your whole existence is I help people buy primary residence, great. That's helping people invest their money. Okay, it's what I'm talking about now is mindset. We'll get to the numbers in just a minute. But the mindset really should be about the future. And so one of the fantastic benefits of time value of money is that it is a tool that helps us to measure. Okay. And if there's one thing that I've learned in, 37, 38 years of doing this work and teaching people, it's that so many people that I've met in these conversations, they're based on feeling, okay? And that's why I've said so many times, people make decisions two ways. They decide emotionally, they justify rationally. But most people don't even have the second part, which is the rational part, which is the numbers, okay? And I've been in this conversation so many times that I just have to be very simple. People don't make decisions or numerically. Okay, and a lot of times when I ask audiences that, they're like, oh yeah, they make them based on numbers. No, they don't. But the numbers are super important. The numbers quantify what the decisions are. And sometimes the numbers can persuade or dissuade one from a decision, okay? But just kind of tuck that in the back of your head, okay? People are making decisions emotionally, they're justifying them rationally. So in the context of that application, time value of money plays a superb role in the justification part, okay? All right, the second thing is this. Lump sum versus payments. Another excellent application and a very integral application of time value of money, because just the processes that you use and the steps that you go through very much delineate the difference between payments and lump sums, okay? And a very simple application in real estate, and you guys have heard this a million times, and I've heard it a million times, is someone says, oh, should I pay off my mortgage or not? Okay, that is very simply the conundrum between future payments in the future and a lump sum today. That's what it is, okay? And people want to make that decision because they want to know, how am I going to be better served in my future? Okay, another application of time value of money. And this is kind of part and parcel of what I just said, but I'll write it out anyway, is to compare alternatives. Compare alternatives. So yesterday I was talking to a lender friend of mine, and she's actually been on this call. Her name is Karen Orr, and I know some of you have met her outside of here. Karen's awesome. She's been a lender for a long time, and very great supporter of mine, good friend, all those things, great industry person. And I was telling her, how this whole discussion about does it pencil has evolved, because it started out and it will remain in part to be a real estate continuing education course. I mean, that's part of the utility. But I told her yesterday, I also want to expand this conversation and to include and move beyond just the real estate applications. And one of the things that I've done intentionally with you guys, and I do when I'm teaching, is I start to introduce this idea of alternatives. Okay, and I was actually thinking about this morning. Some people get a little pissed because they're like, oh, well, I mean, if somebody takes their money and buys something else, I don't get a commission. You're right, you don't. It's true in some cases. And in some cases, you can make more commission because you show up as being unbiased and invested in the client's future, whatever that might be. Okay? But the point is, when we step back and step mostly out of ourselves and our own self-serving nature and our own conflicts of interest, and just kind of be very agnostic, gender neutral, if you will, about the future and about the world, everybody has choices about where they can put their money to create their better future. And so time value of money and internal rate of return, by the way, which we're not doing today, but just want to give that an honorable mention. Both of those tools and skill sets are really the aptitudes that we need to be able to compare alternatives, okay, to make those better decisions, all right? So a couple more and then we'll move into the next thing. Amortization. And we'll do a little bit of that today. That's something that time value of money does. Okay, so I'll put a little thing there, a little thing here. Leverage. Leverage is huge. And then the last thing I'll put, it's kind of a subset of the leverage part, is cash versus debt. Now, I'm going to keep this somewhat topical, somewhat general. Obviously, we're time limited here. And, I know this stuff well enough, and you guys know I know it well enough. I could take any one of those four and open Pandora's box, and, we could go down that so-called rabbit hole. But I think that this is a good list topically of the why and the what of time value of money. Certainly there are more things that we could add to it, but let me just kind of offer this summary statement about where we're at so far. It is a vitally important point of view that we adopt, that these conversations, these decisions, these choices are about a person's future. Okay? My future, your future, their future, whatever. That's what it is. That's important point number one. Important point number two is to really recognize that we're dealing with people, we're dealing with human beings, we're not dealing with AI yet. And what we're there to really help people do in our capacities is to make the right decisions. That's not just value add. That is reason for existence. And I think it's damn time that a lot of us sharpen our definition of what am I even doing here besides getting in the way of two people trying to transact something so I can get something out of it. I know that's a bit facetious, but you get my drift. But what am I really supposed to be doing? Well, one of the things is to help somebody make the right decision. Okay, and the last piece of this opening salvo is there are lots of different things that people can do with these resources that they bring. My argument is that our charge is to help to understand what the resources are, both assets and liabilities, and help them get what they say they want. And sometimes, and we all know this too, what they say they want probably isn't the best thing for them. Sometimes that happens too. But time value of money is a tool that allows us to understand that better and to go from what I would just simply call the unknown to the known. All right, and that's super important. Okay, let's go to the next piece of our discussion today. Let me erase this real quick. Kelly, how am I doing in landscape mode, or portrait mode rather, instead of landscape? Am I any better, or do I still suck?
It seems a little better.
Okay. I'm feeling a little better about myself.
Okay, good.
After that epic fail opening I did about Mercedes eating, but I'm slowly recovering, slowly. Okay. All right, so if we open up...
So if you ever do a blooper reel, make sure you put that one in there.
Kelly, my whole life is a blooper. And I have a lot of it on video, trust me. Okay, so let me switch over my fanciness here and go to the HP 10B2. All right. So in time value of money, the first thing we really want to focus on is the top row of the calculator. So it's N, IYR, PV, PMT, and FV. Those are the 5 time value of money keys. So let me see if I can get back to my proper screen here. Come on, calculator, help me. There we go. All right, so some quick definitions. N is time. And that's just how the Hewlett-Packard company, I don't know how they came with it, but they did. So we talk about months, or we talk about years. And I'm going to come back to this here in just a minute. The IYR is the rate, or the percent, I'll call it. Okay. Now, of note on the HP10B2, this rate thing, this IYR deal, this is entered as a whole number, and the calculator automatically makes the conversion. It's like if you want 6.5%, you just press 6.5. You do not press 0.065. It does the 0.0 part for you. PMT is the payment. And the thing that's unique about payment is that it's the same amount each and every term, or payment period rather, as long as the other variables don't change. So I've said for years, the reason people borrow money on 30-year fixed-year debt is so that they know what their payment's going to be every month, no matter what. So PV is a lump sum. Fix that M there. At the beginning. Okay. Now, here's a little side note you can make about PV. It can either be the price, it can be the loan amount, or it could be the down payment, depending on how you're trying to solve your problem. So don't think it's just the loan amount or just the price, because it's not. It depends on the problem application that you're doing. But the point is, a PV, a present value, is a lump sum that occurs once, and it occurs at the beginning. Okay, and it's typically notated with a negative sign, which I'll show you, get into some more problems, because it's money that you're paying out. Okay, that's sign convention. We'll get to that. FV is the opposite or the antonym of PV, and this is future value, and this is a lump sum at the end. Okay. So when we're solving for the rate of return on appreciation, which is known as the ROI, in those problems, we are solving for the future value. Okay. Now you'll notice here, we have 5 keys, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So the next thing to remember about time value of money is that the methodology works like this, and it always works like this. It's find 3, solve for the 4th. And when I say find 3, what I mean is in the field, you have to go get 3 pieces of information, which are knowns, and then you solve for the 4th, which is the unknown. So for example, you might know what the price is, you figure out how long you anticipate holding it, and you think, well, I think it'll be worth this much at some point in the future. So it's no different than Christine saying, oh, well, I buy the house for, $150, whatever she said, today. I put in 80, that's 240, and I can sell it in a year for 290. Okay, so I have my present, which is the 230, 180 plus 50, or whatever it was, 180 plus 80, I guess. The future, I know the length, which is the n, I can solve for the rate of return. The one that you are most accustomed to is knowing what the loan amount is, or the present value in that application, what the term is, commonly 30 years, what the interest rate is, and you can solve for the monthly payment. So they interchange, but the point is you find 3 of those things and then you solve for the 4th. That's the methodology. Now you can also find 4 and solve for the 5th, but it's more complicated. We just don't do that here. So we just live in the find 3, solve for the 4th world, okay? All right, so the last thing is this. Balancing rate and term. And these are balanced by something known as the number of payments per year. And there are 2 modalities for number of payments per year. It's very simple in our application. It's either going to be 1 or it's going to be 12. Okay, so 1 payment per year is used for appreciation. 12 payments per year, I'll put PYR, is monthly payments. And this is a preset on the calculator. Okay, so we'll do that here next. But you have to preset either for 1 or for 12, depending on your problem. And that is sort of the nuts and bolts, the meat and potatoes of time value of money. Okay, that's the things that you need to know. Okay, you got 5 keys, you find 3, solve for the 4th, set for the correct number of payments per year. If you can get all that part right, the rest of it's not that difficult. Okay, so I'm going to pause there for a second. Any questions? Maybe anything you want to say real quick? Okay, let us go to what I always use as the super simple, easy opening time value of money problem. Okay, so what I'm going to do here is, I don't know how to do split screen in portrait view, so I'm just going to flip back and forth between my notes and the calculator. So the first thing I'm going to do is write down the key presses, then I'll flip over to the calculator and show you on my emulator, this is how they work. So let's say we're borrowing $100,000. Okay, that's going to be the PV. All right. And this is going to be a super, super, super simple problem. Say we're going to borrow this for 30 years.
Share your notes, Joe.
Oh, sorry. 30 years, and this is going to be the end value because years is time. And again, very simple. We're just going to say this is going to be at 12% per annum. That's IYR. Okay. Now, if I was to make each and every one of these payments over 30 years, I would make 360 payments, monthly payments, right? And that's known as 30 times 12 payments per year. And my interest rate per payment would be my 12% per year divided by 12 payments per year. Okay. So rate, this one here, and term, this one here, are balanced by this thing called number of payments per year. And the way that I do that on my HV10B2 is that I preset the calculator for the correct number of payments per year. So to solve this problem, and the question would be, what is my monthly payment? Here's how I would set the calculator. The first thing that I would do is type in the number 12, and then I press the gold key and then the payment key. And I'll show you this in just a minute. And then I press gold key clear all. Then I would type in 100,000. And then I would tap in the top row the register that says PV. That would enter the 100,000 into the PV. Then I would type the number 12 and then tap the IYR. That put 12% into the rate register. And then the way the 10B2 works is that you always enter the term by typing in the number of years and then pressing the gold key and then pressing the N. This is a critical step on the HP10B2. You always have to press this gold key before you press the N. This is how the device makes the conversion. Again, I'll show you this here next. And then the last thing I would do is to tap the PMT key to solve for the monthly payment. Okay, so the steps are set number of payments per year first. And once you set this, it doesn't change. You can turn it on, turn it off, whatever. This stays resident in this device. Other devices revert back to 12 payments per year. this one stays. So like if you're in one payment per year, it'll stay there too. So I have to look for this first, then you clear, and then this is the enter 3, and this is the solve for the 4th. So that's the steps you go through. Every time value of money, no exceptions. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is try to get back to my calculator. There we go. All right, so I know you can't quite see this, so I have to explain a couple of things. Look at the very upper left-hand corner of the calculator. And right below the 0.00, it says payments per year, and mine currently says 1. Okay, so I'm currently in 1 payment per year. I need to switch to 12. So here's how I do it. Type 12 on the keypad. Then this is the gold key right here that I'm holding down and highlighted. And then press the PMT key in the top row. So it's 12 gold key payment. And if you look at the top again, you're going to see the number 12. And if I press gold clear all, I have the 0 red in the register, but underneath it, it now says payments per year 12. And it should say that on your device as well. Payments per year 12. Okay, so now what I've done is I've done this part and I've done this part. Okay, number of payments per year, cleared registers. Now I'm going to type in 100,000, and then in the top row, I'm going to press that PV key. Okay, that enters the 100,000 as the present value. I'm going to type in the number 12, and in the top row, press the IYR key. Okay, that enters 12 as my interest rate. Now I'm going to do 30 gold key N, and you'll see in my register it says 360. So you can see when it multiplies the term times the number of payments per year, you cannot see that when you put in the IYR value, but it's still doing it. So have 3 solve for the 4th. Now I press PMT. So my monthly payment on that loan is negative 1028.61. So this answer here is negative 1028.61. And the brackets just denotes that it's negative, okay? Now, here's a note that you should make, and you can just write this down however you need to say it. The calculator will automatically change the sign, S-I-G-N sign, convention at the end of the calculation. And here's what I mean. This $100,000 was entered as a positive. Okay, that's money I received in. Okay, I don't know why the screen just did that, sorry. And this one here came out as a negative, 1,028.61. Okay, so that's called sign convention. If I receive the lump sum present value, that's why it's positive, and I pay out, then I have to pay out the monthly payment, which is negative. Now, the point of view of that problem that I just gave you was the point of view of the borrower, because the borrower received the $100,000. That's why it was positive. The borrower has to pay out the monthly payments. That's why it's negative. If I flipped it around, if I was the lender and I lent out the $100,000, I would enter that as a negative, and the 1,028.61 would show up as a positive because I would be receiving that every month. Okay, so that's called sign, S-I-G-N convention. All right. Okay, that's a very basic, super simple time value money problem. Questions on that so far? Okay. You know, I was talking to a couple people this week. One of the things we were talking about was condos. In fact, I was talking to Karen, the lender, about condos. I read an article last week that year over year, well, since last year, right now, downtown Seattle condominiums have lost almost 15% of their value. So there are certain pockets of certain markets where values are going down. Let's just say that the Reno market's going to, we anticipate it will decline, go down, at 2% per year for 4 years. Okay, and it doesn't mean it will, it's just an example, okay? But it allows me to introduce sign convention to show how that works, okay? So let's say that I'm going to look at this house, or whatever it is, for $550,000, and I'm going to say my appreciation is going to be negative 2%, okay? And I'm going to say that my term that I'm going to look at is going to be 3 years. So here's why this matters. This is the PV, this is the IYR, and this is the N. So again, to do time value of money, you have to find 3. I just picked those 3. So what I'm going to solve for is going to be the future value. So the question is, what will this be worth in the future? Okay. So here's how I would do that problem. The first thing I would do is 1 gold key payment, because I have to preset my device for 1 payment per year, because in time value of money, the payments are once per year, not 12 per year. Then I would type in 550,000, and I'm going to introduce a new key here, the plus or minus key, and then I'll tag that as PV. The reason I'm doing this is because I'm paying out the 550. I'm the borrower, I am paying this money out. I anticipate I'm going to hold this asset for 3 years. Okay, now this is an assumption that I have to make. You can hold it forever you want, but you have to put something in. And then I'm going to say 2 plus or minus IYR. This will give me the negative 2%. Okay, so plus or minus changes the sign convention. And my last key press here will be FV. Okay, to solve for what it'll be worth in the future. So these are my key presses. Oh, I forgot one here. Then we're going to do a gold clear all. Sorry. So it's always number of payments per year and then clear. All right, so let's go back to the device. And if I look below the 1,028.61, I can see I'm currently in 12 payments per year. So I'm going to press the number 1, press the gold key, press the payment key, and then gold clear all. So now I have 0 in my display in my register, and I look right below it, it should say payments per year 1. And then I'm going to type in 550,000 negative, that's the plus or minus thing, that makes it negative, and then PV. So I've entered negative 550,000 in my payment register. It just means that I'm paying the money out. That's why that one's negative. 3 gold key N, because I always press the gold before the N key. Since I'm in 1 payment per year, it's still going to show 3, which is fine. Now I'm going to type in 2 plus or minus key to make it negative IYR. That's my anticipated decrease in value of 2% per year. Find 3, solve for the 4th, press for future value. 517,655.60. So I lost about $33,000, $32,500. Now another quick key press here. You've got the 60 cents here. If I just wanted to get rid of the 60 cents, I would press gold key equals in lower row and then 0. And that chops off the pennies. And then gold key equals 2 would put them back. That's the display function. I usually do these in 0 just to not get confused, okay? All right, so that's what that would look like in a declining market. And, we are at the moment now where there are markets in the country that are declining. Again, I was talking to Karen yesterday, and she's doing, closing 11 plus deals a month. And she's from Tacoma, worked here forever. Her and her husband are now wintering in the Arizona markets. And she's in Phoenix. And I said, what's Phoenix like? And she goes, compared to Tacoma. And she goes, well, the first thing is it's a hell of a lot cheaper to live here than it is there. That's the first thing she said. Okay, so price per square foot, much lower in that market than here. And I said, so what's going on as you look down the road? She goes, oh, it's flat and going down. I said, okay. Not all markets, but as we know, real estate is local sport, and now it's not the COVID time anymore. And now we're starting to see some equilibrium forces pushing back the other way, because real estate markets move much slower than stock markets do. It's the Titanic versus the dinghy, if you will. Okay. Let's put a happy face on this. So, Craig, you are in the always happy town of San Francisco, and what's the average price of a house? Well, you don't work in the city. You've told us that. Where do you work? What's your area of responsibility?
Actually, I do work in the city. So, yeah, I live in Marin. So
That's what it is. You live in Marin.
But I serve both communities. And actually, I'm getting back into the city more. So, but it's good to have Marin because, I mean, the prices in San Francisco, they're up like 24% on the housing stock from a year over year. I mean, it's crazy. Multiple bids.
Okay, let's do an example of that. That's perfect. Okay. So let's say I'm in San Francisco and I walk in there and I'm like, Craig, I want to buy an average house in San Francisco. What's my price?
2.2 million.
Okay. So we're going to call this SFO SFR. San Francisco single family. Price 2.2 million. And I'm going to say, Craig, help me out here, man. You're the local guy. In 3 years, how much appreciation do you think I should anticipate per year?
That's a good one. I would say 3% per year.
I thought you said it was 24.
Which it was 24 in the last year. You can't expect that to repeat itself. That's not sustainable.
Well, why? Okay. Then why was it 24 last year and it won't be next year?
Well, I don't know. I don't have a crystal ball. I'm not going to project that. I'm not going to tell people.
Okay, then let's not do the crystal ball. Answer the rear view mirror question. Why did it go up 24%?
AI went crazy in San Francisco.
Okay.
It's all AI driven.
So remember we talked about SWOT analysis? That would be an opportunity. That's an external factor that had influence on the market. If you're saying it was all AI. So you think AI is done?
No, it's not done. It's here to stay, but it's how can you project out, using one, I'd be very cautious about that because it's one thing that,
okay, that's cool. That's cool. And you and I are the same age, but let's just say that I walk up and I go, hey, Craig, I'm 28 and I work for an AI company that just went public and I just got a bazillion in stock and signing bonus and all that stuff. You know those guys, right? They're all running around. What's that guy going to think about the future and appreciation? Because he's only lived less than half the time that you and I have even been alive.
Right.
What's his or her anticipation going to be?
Oh, they're bullish, they're bullish. So, and I will be delighted to sell him a house.
I'm sure you would, because that would mean a lump sum for you. Okay, well let's just split the baby. Let's just say that San Francisco's not dead, and let's just go 8%. Okay, just to pick a number. And let's do for term. Let's do 5 years. Okay, so again, we're just doing the reps here. Just this is how it's done. Okay, so here's my key presses: 1 gold key payment, and then gold key clear all, and then 2,000,002 plus or minus PV. Because again, this is money I'm paying out. That's why I make it negative. 8 IYR, my anticipated annual rate of appreciation per year over 5 years, 5 gold key N, and then FV. Okay. So this is what I do to show the client in this situation, in these parameters, here's how much this property will be worth in the future. Okay, now I'm already on 1 payment per year because that's where I left the device last time. Okay, that doesn't change, but just for posterity, 1 gold key payment. Gold key clear all. Okay, so again, I double check. Below the 0, I see payments per year equals 1. That's good. 2,200,000 negative PV. That's what I pay out at the beginning. 5 gold key N. That's my term. 8 IYR. That's my anticipated rate of appreciation. FV solves for my future value. So if that amount of purchase price goes up 8% per year for 5 years, I'll have 3.23.